and welcome to Talk Solent. It's lovely to have your company, and we've got some special things to celebrate today. I'd like you first to meet my wonderful guests and some new ones to the panel. So, brand new views, and we welcome Abdullah, got it right? Abdullah, Sene. Yep, nearly got it right. Yeah. Welcome, and Abdullah, you're from Southampton.
Yes.
Yes, and you're the director of ICANN?
ICANN, yes.
Yes, and you'll tell us in a minute. But basically, you do wonderful things with open spaces, but we'll come back to you in just a second. Also, very new to our panel is Felix Pastor, and you are the project manager of Fiesta FM.
Fiesta FM.
Yes, and it's a bit of good fortune that we have somebody from a radio station, and I'll explain why in just a second. Now, someone else who does work on a radio station when he's not doing good deeds is the Reverend Alan Claridge from the United Reformed Church. And yes, you do stuff on Hope FM, don't you?
Yes, every Sunday.
Yes?
Yes.
And of course, but the reason you're with us today is because you do good deeds for people in Zimbabwe and Romania and all sorts. But first of all, for those of you who remember Radio Victory, does that ring bells? Well, today's a very, very special day for Victory because it was 40 years ago today, October the 14th, 1975, that Radio Victory went on air. And it went on to be something of a local legend, particularly with Pompey people who were very resistant to new stations. And of course it was very new because it was a commercial station, one of the first 10 to start in the UK. And it did become a local legend, and a lot of us, I'm sure names like Dave Simons, Dave Christian, Anton Darby, Jack McLaughlin, Glenn Richards, they all ring bells with you. So lots of celebrations today going on in Portsmouth, and indeed in Southampton, because it did spread that far. But sadly, it's the quality of signal wasn't quite good enough for it to sell its wares across to Southampton. So I think that probably contributed to its demise, which was 10 years later. And then another Radio Victory came along, which also didn't last that long. So a very, very merry, happy celebration to Radio Victory today. And so we're going to talk a bit about that. And the other celebration is National Curry Week, folks. We'll wait for your recipes. We need Nadia here, don't we, from the Bake Off.
Yeah.
And she's done wonderful things, hasn't she, for community cohesion, they do say.
Fantastic work.
Yeah. Just let's get on to radio a minute. If I could just start with you, Felix. I know that you, and we've also in our studio, but you can't see him, got Ali Beg here because he kindly brought you in.
Yes.
Ali represents Awaz FM, and you represent Fiesta. And you're both up for an FM licence, which is the closing dates next week for Southampton.
Yes.
And you're a sort of, you appeal to Hispanic people, yeah?
Yes. All the Latino people. Hispanic, yes, but Latino. Latino includes 33 countries in South America, include Italians, and include as well Portugal. So this is kind of not just, that's just a part of Europe, but include, of course, Spain.
Yes. So you run online at the moment, do you?
Online at the moment.
Yes, and you, like Awaz FM, who deal mostly, I think they appeal to Muslims?
Yeah, I appeal to Muslims and also Hindus, actually.
Hindus?
Yeah, it appeals to all Asians.
In the Southampton area? Yes, and of course they've done very well, and you've both benefited from the system that Ofcom have of restricted service licenses, so people get a chance to have some FM exposure, don't they?
Yes.
Which you've had. So now you're in for the big one, which will mean you will constantly broadcast on FM, one of you or Awaz, yeah?
Yeah, well, hopefully both.
Or
Hopefully both.
As community stations.
Community. There are different communities, so at the moment it's fine. But hopefully both we are going to be online too.
And you'll play music and talk?
Yes, there are different kind of programs. There are cuisine programs. There are different types of music. For example, not just, as the people know, it's not just salsa. There are so many different kind of, the way they play or rhythms. Know that salsa, merengue, reggaeton is kind of mixed with United States music, which is a little bit rock pop, but it's a mixed Latin music as well. So that's called reggaeton, and that kind of things I need to encourage the people know.
Yeah.
That's the difference. No?
Well, radio stations, particularly community, have sprung up, haven't they? And they're very popular. And certainly the one you broadcast for in the Bournemouth area, which is a Christian one, Hope FM.
Yeah.
And now we're in the world of local TV, which we're broadcasting on now. Although it's not very local, it covers a huge area. But it is sad, I think. People were saying today, because of Radio Victory's birthday, well, 40th anniversary, is that many commercial stations don't talk to each other anymore. They play music all day. Which is where community stations come in, really, because you do talk to people more, don't they?
Of course. The main point is the communication with the people, right? The community, and integrate the community. That is the main reason we are community. And this is the main thing, to make programs, to teach the community different things.
Why is it that commercial stations, hugely successful, why don't they talk to people anymore?
I think this is a problem. There's a radio station in Wimborne that's opened up, and I'm due to go on it, but 1 hour a week, and the rest is music.
Yeah.
And, you're missing out a lot with the community.
Yeah.
And I think that's sad, because you can listen to music all the time, can't you? But if you've got people that you're interested in, you get to know them, and people
listen. You can put a CD, no? Sorry, you can put a CD if you want to listen to music, no? It's not just, if you turn the radio and it's just music, it's like exactly the same as put a CD or MP3.
You see, there is a theory, and whether it will spill over to local television, I wouldn't like to say because it's early days, that talking doesn't make money. With radio, if you play music all day, and you hit the right music for the right target audience, you will make money. Now, how sad is that?
Very.
Yeah, very. It's not communication. If you put it in another side, not in the same thing, but in another side, we have a communication problem. Because once I was talking with a colleague, and she was looking for the right man, actually, a nice guy, to meet a nice guy. She has to use basically a date site, a normal date site, the normal one. And I said, you know what, it's because we have communication problems, because if you're going out and you want to meet a nice people or something, we have a problem with communications. And that you put in the radio, and it's exactly the same. Why we not communicate?
Well, is it about money?
Yeah, I think so.
But it's still sad.
I think the only thing, probably people need to be more creative in terms of radios. They need to be more creative. Music, for instance, you said, is if you tune the right music, you have the right audience. But also there are programs, can be creative programs that can target right audience. Like, any cultural programs, there are a group of people there that might be interested in it.
Yes. Well, we try and get interesting people on this show. And I mean, I've got some real corkers today, you three. But now tell me about what you do, Abdullah.
Yes.
Got you it right. Because you have an organisation that makes good space, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. It's called ICANN, Active Kids, Active Neighborhood. In this generation, we all know the issues with obesity. We also know that, because of funding cuts, there are a lot of spaces that have been abandoned that could have been utilized for the public use. But because of that, these spaces become dumping sites, like alleyways, like some public spaces. So we have to be creative to see how best we can utilize that space to use for the people, for the children that are not active.
Where is this? Southampton area?
In Southampton, especially in deprived areas of Southampton, to be honest. For instance, in St. Mary's, there are a lot of spaces that people use for abandoned. In fact, one of the spaces that are transformed has been there for 30 years. Every 2 years, government, city council will come and empty the places. but they will put there the sign that you have 50 pound charges if there is anything rubbish thrown there. But the next year is full again. So this year, for the first time, the last 2 years, it has been completely empty. Nothing been thrown there, and we've transformed it into play area. You do painting, gardening, and lots of activities.
Do you get help or local government?
Not yet, because I went to city council more than maybe 100 times. I met so many councillors. But unfortunately, from that end, there was no funding coming. So individuals that are generous do give us 50, 100 pounds, and myself and other people, like Ali, West Eastern Community Trust, has been very, very good for us.
So Fiesta FM would help with something like that?
Yeah, our FM would help.
Yeah.
They'll contribute their help. And also, West Eastern Community Trust helped a great deal.
Where would the children go if they weren't being helped to go out and play where you...
That is the problem, because they were playing on the roads. And there were times when there was a car accident there, a child was hit by a car. So I encourage the parents to make sure that their children use that safe area, so that children will be, prevented from, being involved in car accidents. And that's happening now. And we used last year, actually the early part of this year, a lot of city council people came there, invited them there. They came there. We had a big party in the alleyway itself, a big party, That was fantastic. So we are hoping that we'll be able to transform more places like that.
Very good. Well, before we finish, they'll all have their begging bowls out today, so you can all contribute very generously if you like. And in a minute or two, we're going to carry on talking to our guests you've heard from. We're also going to ask Alan to tell us about a remarkable thing he does in Zimbabwe, having not been treated as brilliantly as he might have been, I've always felt, but he still goes back to that place and takes medicine to people who wouldn't have medicine, which is a very amazing thing, and he started doing some work in Romania as well. So please stay tuned, because we've got some good stuff to come. Hello, welcome back to Talk Solent. Yes, I'm lucky today. I've got Abduli, I've got Felix, and I've got Alan, who are, in their way, all likely to suggest you might give them some money at some point. But meanwhile, they've got a very useful story to tell. Abdul has just been telling us about an organisation which finds play areas for children who would be probably in real danger on the roads, in the Southampton area particularly. And Felix is hoping to win a community licence for, is it right, Hispanic people?
Hispanic, yes.
Fiesta. Those of you who come from that background will know it. And of course, we've been talking about Ali Beg, who's also with us in the other end of the studio, who's hoping that a Wild FM will win the licence as well. Now, Alan Claridge, you are an amazing man, because every January or so you trot out to Zimbabwe, where you, having got lots and lots of medicines together that those of us don't want anymore, but they're still in date, and you distribute them to people who have no medicine.
That's correct. This year is the biggest amount that I've ever taken out. In fact, the biggest year we've ever had donations. Very sadly, I was in Zimbabwe in January and got on the plane to come back, and they tried to contact me. I have a cousin in Dorset who had a stroke, and sadly she passed away when we got back, so I was there just at that time, and she left us £10,000 for Zimbabwe. So it enabled me to buy equipment. We've got 3 major hospitals without water at the moment, and each of those hospitals needed a purification system, and I've managed to buy all 3.
When you say no water, what do they drink?
They drink water, they've got disease in it. So oftentimes people go into hospital and come out worse than they go in. And also you see people with such filthy water, whereas what we do, we purify it, put it into a huge storage vat. It's a very big job. Earlier this year I worked for 4 days just building 1 unit out there, which gave water for, where they had water for 10 people, it gave water for 300 people an hour. And so they had people going on bicycles and everything to collect water.
You were saying you've heard they've got problems with electricity at the moment.
Yes, that's this week. What happened, I've got my shipment nearly ready to go back to Zimbabwe We've got people all over Dorset and Hampshire that have knitted blankets, given us medicines that will be in date for next year, given us money, which we need all the time, and I had a text message through. I've had difficulty in contacting an Abel Waldman, who's in charge of Matabeleland hospitals, said that they are without electricity for up to 6 to 8 hours a day now, and that in the hospital is devastating. And so I managed to get hold of solar systems, and I can only afford to buy one at the moment, but I've had one arrive now which will give at least 10 points to each unit of electric supply, which is vital.
How much do they cost?
They only cost about £250 each.
Ah.
So they're not really expensive, but when you think we've spent something like £20,000 on all the equipment so far, and we've cost us £3,000 to send.
Do you think Ghana, sorry, no, you come from
I came from Gambia.
Gambia. Is Gambia in the same situation?
No, a little bit different actually. Gambia, we don't have a problem with water in terms of hospitals and health centers. The water purification system is okay. And some of the villages have purified system of water, but you know we still have remote areas in the country where they have got wells, deep wells. Some have got shallow wells. You know, shallow wells especially, you know, it's very risky in terms of public health.
So in terms of Africa, would you say, is Zimbabwe at about the worst levels?
No, it wouldn't be the worst, but because of all the modern applications they've had over the years and the lack of being able to upkeep them and chemicals and such like, it's deteriorated faster than most places in Africa. And of course at the moment they haven't paid their bills for the electric supply to Tanzania and South Africa, and so both those countries have cut down.
One question, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, the people who work from coming from here, right from UK, who work down there.
Yeah.
Okay, and you got some basically grants from here and everything, but the government down there in that country is involved with yours as well?
Not
it's nothing related with the government. The government
get
says
no grants from anywhere. The reason being is because of the politics.
Yeah.
No country at the moment will give money to Zimbabwe.
But actually, the government from down there, that country,
Zimbabwe,
they don't even help.
Well, let me tell you, the hospital would be the size of Southampton General Hospital there, and in their kitty, in their money that they've got in the bank, this January they had the equivalent of £250, nothing else. They had to pay doctors, nurses, no money at all.
So basically it's double help, because you have not just the country, you have the government.
Yes.
Even though it's double help, because the country wants the hand.
So you've got a situation where people are still scared to do anything about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Their government.
Yeah, they're lovely people. When I go out to work, we have a really great time. It's hard work, but I'll just tell you one funny little story. I like funny stories. I get into trouble for them. I once had a doctor who throw a tantrum, but I had to do a talk on the water quality for the hospital, and I had a filter. Now the filters are white, beautiful normally, and I had this one that had been in for 3 weeks. There was so much dirt on it, it was black and solid. So I put it in a tray, and when the committee that I speak to, about 50 people came, I gave them a little piece, and each one I gave, I said, take this chocolate, but don't eat it. And everybody thought it was chocolate, because it looked like it. So they all sat there ready to take a bite, and I said, don't eat it. I said, that's your water supply. And the head of the hospital said, never. Where did you get that supply from? I said, actually from your drinking supply in your office. And,
Oh,
that,
I bet that went down badly.
yeah. They actually gave me a presentation the first time ever within the hospital with a certificate to match.
God, just if we could touch on Romania, because you've gone to there as well.
Well, Romania, I had to retire from the United Reformed Church at the young age of 70 plus, and I took over a very small church in Barton, in Dorset, and we started an internet radio system. And an average congregation we have on a Sunday now is anything from 800 to 4,000 on a Sunday.
I was listening to this Fiesta FM today, and Ali Beck's in the background doing a was.
And what happened is the Romanian church heard about it and they asked me to go over there and speak at some of their churches on 2 Sundays. I went for 2 weeks with my wife, went over there, and their average congregation is anything up to 600-700 people, and some of them are even bigger. Young people, perhaps 200, 300 in a service. Children, probably 200 or 300 as well. And I spoke there on the Sundays, and they had very much longer services than we do, but it went so quickly because it was so interesting. Yeah. And then the people who were very poor kindly took us throughout that part of Romania, took us onto the mountains, Dracula's castle, Rome. Interesting, and they were so kind that it was an experience. But that was through internet radio.
Yeah. So, isn't it interesting that we think of ourselves here in Britain with all the services we take for granted? And, you know, Portsmouth in a spot of bother today after their board meeting yesterday, their council meeting, they've sent a letter to the Home Secretary, Theresa May, saying that they can't take families fleeing war-torn countries. You know, they're just not possible, no room. And this was despite a lot of activists outside. It's a really tricky one at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Angela Merkel surprised us all by saying, oh, come on in, but now she's thinking it twice, isn't she? Yeah. Of course, Portsmouth are saying we can't do it. What's your feeling?
How many people are they expecting to receive Portsmouth?
Well, I don't know. I don't think...
Southampton is 25, isn't it?
It's what?
Southampton, I think.
Southampton, we don't know. I don't think the decision's been made.
I think it's not numbers at the moment, no?
Yeah, I read something like Southampton is welcoming 25 refugees from Syria, something like that.
Yes, and it's very controversial.
I would not completely agree to open the doors and say, come on, come in, because we are going to struggle. But as well, as an immigrant, I came here 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And was different vision because I came here to work, and that people need more help at the moment, They come in because they try to escape. So it's different situation,
Well,
they come desperate. Basically, they need a hand, and actually, I'm agreed to give it a hand, but it's not possible. If you open the door, they're gonna come in so much people, and we are going to struggle. So we have to take care as well.
Well, it is a problem, and for anybody who's come into this country, it must be particularly difficult because you both came in, 12 and 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and you've obviously come to love this country and would like to see other people given the same opportunities. But is there room,
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation. Now, it's a crisis situation now. So crisis, sadly, they are in crisis. So probably, as you said, probably what needs to be done is, I'm not a politician, I'm not very much into politics, but my own opinion is you can't open the door wide for everybody to come in, but you can actually take in the people that you can accommodate.
Yes, well, who makes that decision? We'll come back and talk about this in just a second, so hold your thunder, and we'll take a commercial break, and then we'll pop back and hear what our panellists say on this, because it's a big one for Portsmouth, certainly, and of course Southampton and the island and everywhere else in our own. Talk at thatsolent.com is the place to come if you would like to comment on anything you've heard today. We'll see you in a minute. It's the same, isn't it? They chat away all through the break, and then they go quiet since we come back. Anyway, they're going to say it all again to you, I hope. Yes, can I just tell you who's with me? It's Abdullah, Dr. Abdullah, and you're a doctor in what?
Public health promotion.
From Southampton University. Yes. And originally from the Gambia. Okay, we've got Felix Russell, who is from
Venezuela.
My word, we are multicultural today. And he's hoping he'll win the bid for Fiesta FM. And we've also got our representative from Awaz FM, so they're also in for it. And the Reverend Alan Claridge has been telling us about how he's taking medicine solar equipment and all the rest to, he's going to Zimbabwe in the new year, January, and would love you to give him some money for people who can't even keep cool in hospital.
That's true.
Terrible, isn't it? And they haven't even got antibiotics or anything.
No.
No.
No, I had cholera myself 2 years ago, and I was privileged because we had one person visit and they had the injection for it, but there were thousands died. Literally thousands.
In Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Wow.
Terrifying. We were just talking, I know just briefly, about the story in Portsmouth, which has caused so much controversy about how they've written to Mrs May saying, no, we're not taking families fleeing war-torn countries, got no room. I know talking to the Conservative councillors today, they're all saying, oh, well, we didn't really mean that, and we may take them one day, you know, but at the moment they're saying we're full up. But what's the answer to this? Well, you came here.
Yeah, when I came here 12 years ago, actually, my situation was different. No, my situation was as an immigrant, okay, but I came here to work.
Yeah.
Okay. Sadly, that immigration is coming now. They are desperate, so they try to escape the situation. And what I said, not as a normal person, but as a politician, no, it's not better to try to fix their country because they try to escape for being killed, for being murdered. And if, as a politician, sorted out the situation in the country, nobody wants to leave his own country. We want to travel because we love to travel. Everyone wants to go abroad and see different cultures. But the thing is, escape from his own country is really hard for the people.
Yeah, it's very hard, yes. And you've made good in Britain and now love Britain, yeah?
Yes, of course.
But it's a very, very tricky one, particularly for people who come here and can see what a difference it makes to your life being here, if you're allowed to come here. But housing is always the problem, and Portsea Island is particularly well known for the fact there is not a lot of space left. It's an island. But I see in the Echo today, Southampton and Hampshire, they're saying, a Labour Council chief has said they're facing a crisis in the number of new affordable homes. Warwick Payne said that while he hoped to build 450 council homes in the regeneration of Townhill Park, the majority will instead be bought or rented on the private market. So that is a problem, isn't it? There are not enough council houses being built or private housing association houses being built.
That's the problem. Do you remember some years ago now the Vietnamese came and we had thousands of Vietnamese came and they actually, down in the New Forest, had a camp there that the RAF had a place called Sotley, and they put hundreds of them there, didn't they? And then distributed them gradually, because there's no money in the councils now, is there? The government have cut back on all the funding, and that's made it difficult. But
well, that's right. They can't. I mean, anybody who has watching this who has carers knows this. You know, it's simple. The things that matter in your everyday life are cut back. So it's a really difficult one. Really
big cutbacks too.
While we're in Southampton, because I never feel we quite please our Southampton viewers enough, so we're going to please you today by mentioning a big story. And Abdullah, you were talking about it in the break. Questions today raised over the future of one of Southampton's biggest employers, and that is the publicly owned Ordnance Survey. So why is it going to go, and how can it be saved? Are you familiar with this story?
I think the politicians, it comes back to politics again and again. The politicians, Osborne wants to save money, and he was looking at where to cut and where to save money. And the suspicion is Ordnance Survey is going to go, is going to save money with Ordnance Survey. But the problem we have is Ordnance Survey is a big employer in Southampton. Because Southampton has nearly 1,000 people work for Ordnance Survey. And last year alone, Ordnance Survey contributed 20 million to the government's coffers. You know, and still they are thinking of selling Ordnance Survey. And not only contributed to employment is one of the advantages it has, and also contributing to the coffers. And the third one is a lot of public services are using Ordnance Survey data
Are
their
they?
own work, like, how to call it, road agencies.
Oh,
They
yes.
have access
Yeah.
to routes, they have access to data free of charge. So if it goes to privatization, that simply means that those organizations are going to pay to access the data. And at the end of the day, the money is going to come out of our pocket as, taxpayers to service that as well. So,
My concern, sorry, another thing.
Yeah.
My concern is if they get in private, okay, or maybe the people lose a job or have to move in another area or everything. My concern is if they get in private and we have to pay for the service, they're gonna drop the 20% tax. Because if I have to put from my pocket, why I have to still pay in 20% of the taxes?
Well, time will tell.
NHS becomes, they have actually a program to develop to the NHS become private. Because one of the United
That's
States,
a big subject.
United States is behind of the big company which called NHS. So why, if I have to pay from my pocket in private, why I have to pay taxes 20%?
Well, no government's going to tax the NHS, are they?
No. The thing is not, the taxes eating in my pocket and I have to pay plus my health.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. That
I'm gonna be agree if if I pay 5% for taxes.
Those services are coming from our tax. If those services are rendered, they are coming from our tax. And now that the service has been privatized, what is going to happen to the tax that we pay?
Exactly. It's
Are
a
we still going to
circle.
pay the same tax? Because the services are not there for us now.
Well, there's a big question. You might have the answer at home. Has anybody got the answer? You might have a view at talk@solent.com. Hope to hear from you on that. Yes. But anyway, yes, everything you've said, of course, is borne out in the echo. The Chancellor prepares to reveal how the government will deliver £20 billion worth of savings by 2020. And I'm very worried.
Another thing is the government at the moment is for 5 years. So, as far as I can see, the government now is like when a child is in the school, they put a star he is a good boy.
Yeah.
So he's gonna put a star because in 5 years he's not here.
They're well.
So fine.
That's right. That's what happens.
Unless he win again, of course. But he knows that, so he's gonna be a good boy. That's it. That's the starting point.
But doesn't that happen in Venezuela as well?
Of course, happens because there is a lot here.
Yes.
This is the reason I'm
And in the
here.
Gambia, yes.
This is the reason we are here because the situation becomes, in that kind of environment that's kind of rolling, it's a snowball. And it's growing and growing and growing, and at some point you cannot stop it. So we try to be aware.
Well, there you are. It's very interesting stuff. So there's a couple of other stories, one quite serious and one which is quite amusing, and we'll get your imaginations going. But let me ask you about this one. A lot of papers today are saying that historic village churches across England may be closed down except on holy days. So they might stay open. This is 16,000 Anglican places. They might be opened up on Christmas and Easter or whatever, but the rest of the time you won't be able to get into them. And it occurred to me we've got someone who's a Muslim, and we've got a Catholic, and we've got an Anglican. And I'm interested, the Catholics wouldn't do it, would they? Close up their churches.
They shouldn't.
But no. And it would be an outrage if they tried to shut the mosque.
Muslims won't do it.
No.
Even if there are 3 people going to the mosque. Because the importance of the mosque doesn't relate to the number of people that are going to the mosque.
No.
It relates to what actually is done in the mosque. If there is 2 people, 3 people going to the mosque, they have that right to go to the mosque.
Well, isn't that right? It's about who wants to go there.
That's right. I think not always it's because of shutting it because they haven't got the money. I think sometimes in some areas there's a lot of vandalism.
That is the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. Whereas people at one time held respect for the church.
Yeah.
Nowadays there's very little respect for anything. And so many churches get vandalised. The Church of England near us, before I became the minister in Parkston, was set fire by vandals.
Yeah. Well, we're nearly out of time, but on a lighter level, I thought I'd ask you this. Tonight, a Southampton Solent student is on The Apprentice with Sir Alan Sugar, right? Richard Woods, best of luck to you. And of course he wants his company to make it and have some money. But I thought I'd ask you, if you could have Lord Sugar's £250,000, what would you spend it on?
Oh God.
What you do?
Yeah, what I would spend on, I would transform all alleyways and all the abandoned spaces into multiple spaces for children to use.
Excellent. Philip?
Well, I think I'm gonna do as a Fiesta FM. I'm gonna do a donation to him, and I'm gonna be it's gonna be a good account.
And of course, I would use it to get decent water and medicines for the hospitals that I know so badly need it in Zimbabwe.
Right.
I'm gonna do 2 donations. It's a very good cause.
Well, I've got to go, but I'm not sure Alan Sugar looks at these beneficial things. He likes to make money, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Got to go. Thank you very much. It's been great. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thank you.